Hello and welcome to QUIZZY Monday on what has been quite an eventful day, not least on our favourite quiz shows. So welcome to us on this day. It's also been an eventful week for us. All Things Quiz Turn 2 this Enough of that. Yes, we turn 2. So thank you, everybody who's been watching us. Thank you also to those of you who are our Patreon members. We really appreciate the support from all of you. And just to say thank you to them, let's just watch this. So there we go. Thank you to all of our Patreon members. You help us keep the channel going. And we have a quiz for our Patreon members next Sunday. So if you want to join, go to patreon.com/allthingsquiz. You'll be able to play in that quiz. We also have some special stuff for members only coming up, and you can check that out on the Patreon page. We interviewed one of the Australian chasers yesterday. And our members were able to sit in on that. Now, before we get the guests on, I just want to say there will be spoilers tonight. So if you haven't watched Mastermind, if you haven't watched Only Connect, and if you haven't watched University Challenge, you might want to watch those first, because we are not going to be holding back in our analysis on those shows. And to that end, I am delighted to welcome onto the show from Mastermind, Alexia Jarvis, and from Only Connect, we've got Molly, Jonathan, Joshua, and Jade. Welcome, everybody.
Hello.
Good
Hi.
evening.
Hi there.
It's so good to have you all on board. Now, I mean, where do we start? Well, Alexia,
What a night.
Mastermind. Let's go straight in with Mastermind. Firstly, whatever possessed you to pick a subject as big as the 2020 Japan Olympics and the British team there?
Well, I took the Olympics off work to watch it. So I was like, well, I do have a base knowledge. And then I looked at the fact that we had 400 athletes a bit too late. So yeah, quite a lot of learning to do, but I absolutely loved it. I love the Olympics. So it was great to go back and watch those moments again.
Yeah. But did you find it kind of sucked out any of the enjoyment? You know, when you're having to go, had to go really deep into that knowledge. You know, how many people were in a playoff and stuff like that. You know, did it kind of, sully that sort of enjoyment that you had?
I think within like a week or so afterwards, I didn't want anyone to talk to me about any sport, not even let alone the Olympics. But now it's kind of like looking back with fondness, I think, especially watching back that episode. It was just such a nice thing to watch back. So yeah, it's got a special place in my heart now, I reckon.
Well, that is good anyway, that it didn't completely ruin it. I did notice you look particularly pleased with backflip 360.
I remember writing that down. I saw it on an article and I went, I'm going to write that down. You never know. And then it popped up and I couldn't believe it. I was so pleased.
It was a great answer. That first round, you know, when you sat there after the first two players, Ruth and Ben, and they've hammered through their specialist subject rounds, what sort of pressure did you feel at that point?
Yeah, I think there was no pressure. That was the first time I've ever been on a TV show. So for me, I was sitting there and it felt like I was just watching the TV and I was really cheering them on. And then it was like, oh, I completely forgot it's me now. So yeah, I think that it actually took a bit of pressure off. And I think it's quite nice to start with your specialist subject because you know where it's going to go. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It was nice.
Yeah, and you must have been pretty darn chuffed with what was it, 13 out of 14 questions.
Yeah,
did you have any preconceptions before you went in?
I remember it's really hard. You can kind of like practice against the general knowledge rounds. So I could go in thinking, oh, you know, I might get around 10. That's what I was aiming for the general knowledge. With the specialist subject, you can't do it. I had people writing questions for me just to like do some practice rounds, but you just don't know what the questions are going to come for you. So yeah, pretty chuffed with that, definitely.
Was that how you prepared? Like just writing questions, looking at the subject, writing questions, or did you use any other tactics?
Techniques, definitely flashcards. towards the end, I actually recorded them as well. So I was listening to myself, which is horrific. But it was worth it because you can almost, when you write the questions and listen to them, like when Clyde is saying facts, you're like, oh, right. It's almost like listening to songs and lyrics. You can just pick them off the shelf and go for it.
Yeah. Well, we've got a bunch of people actually in here who are saying, Pam, who you may well know, I think, from Tea Time Trivia, is saying, well done, Alexia, and Gerard is saying, evening Masterminders, and what else have we got here? Molly, I think there was some love for your hair, Molly. So there you go. Yeah, so what I forgot to mention at the outset was that what we'll be covering tonight, because I was just so eager to get going. So we will be talking, obviously, a bit more Mastermind. We'll be talking Only Connect. We'll catch up on University Challenge. We'll look at nominations for Quizzer and Team of the Week. And we'll also finish the evening with our champagne moment, whatever anybody's favourite moment of the night was. And I'll be going to the panel to see what their moments were. And in the chat, have a think about what your favourite moments of the night were. I mean, it was a tough and brilliant first round. The OC bunch. When you were looking at Mastermind, if indeed you were there any subjects that particularly interested you, or you'd have fancied, or you learnt something from? Jade, how about you?
Sorry, I didn't hear the question. Sorry.
It's whether there was any specialist subject in Mastermind that kind of appealed to you.
Well, I find the thing is with a lot of Mastermind things, you either know them really, really well. I mean, that's why they're called special subjects, but like Peaky Blinders and something else are really not my area of expertise. So it's often quite enjoyable to watch someone, display all this knowledge that they're very passionate about. So even though I don't have that knowledge, it's always very entertaining.
That's great. I think we're just being joined by another OC member, but we'll carry on. Here he is. He's Jonathan. We'll bring him on. There we go. Hi, Jonathan. Oh, he's a little bit static at the moment. We'll come to Jonathan.
There he is.
He's moving.
Hi.
Evening, Jonathan. We're just talking about Mastermind and what a fantastic first round that we had. Yeah. Hi, Jonathan. Alexia, at the end of your first round, what were you thinking? You were clearly still in the fight. You're still in the game at that point. But did that kind of affect how you were going to go into the general knowledge round?
You just don't know what's going to hit you. And I think it's quite nice to see Ruth go first because it gives you a taste of the level of the questions. So I wasn't trying to mark myself against Ruth, but just mark myself against, what type of question is going to hit me. But yeah, I was just excited to do it because that was the one you get to practice a lot. So yeah, I was ready for
it. So that's good. I mean, it was anyone's game at that point. Although we do know that Ben is a great player. He plays in online quiz league. I think he plays.
Yeah.
So he's not an unknown quantity. We got a few comments. I think you answered this one earlier. Ray saying, "Have you done any other TV quizzes?"
No, it's my first one, but the bug has got me.
Talk about diving in at the deep end. And Pam, did you feel cold in the studio like I did?
I want the temperature to be super cold in that situation, so I'm happy with the cold.
And Chris is saying, credit to Ben's mum for making the ultimate parental sacrifice by pretending to be interested in Peaky Blinders. I guess that's sort of the ultimate accolade. But I think when it came to general knowledge, there wasn't much in it really. There was some nice tactics. He said Smith for John Denver. You weren't going to faff around.
I'm never going to forget that ever. It's probably a really easy question for other people, but for me, unfortunately not.
No, well, if you don't know it, you don't know it. But we saw tonight that passes mattered, and so I think you were right to not pass. You picked up Eritrea after a run of a few questions that didn't really go your way, which was great. And soliloquy was a great fish.
I don't know where that came from. My English teacher will be proud.
Indeed. Well, I mean, there's plenty of reasons to be proud. But when you look back at that round, are you looking back kind of kicking yourself, or are you thinking that actually you did pretty well?
my post-match analysis was very much, why did I say Vince instead of Vin Diesel? It gets me still. And I probably could have got Gospels too. And I think when you go, I could have got 1 here, I could have got 2 here, you go, and now I've won the show. So you can kick yourself, but I'm just trying to remember that feeling afterwards of just being so happy that I was there and enjoying the experience. So that won't take anything away from it.
That's excellent. I always say on this show that the first time is reconnaissance. So, your kind of feeling after being on the show, would you do it again?
Yeah, in a heartbeat. Already started writing up which subjects I want to do in a few years' time. Give myself a break. It was too stressful.
That's good news. I put it to Jonathan, Jade, Joshua, and I think we got t'other Jonathan back, and Molly's trying to join as well. Jonathan and Molly, if you struggle with picture quality, you can go into the picture settings and drop the camera feed down to a lower quality, and that's often the trick. Jonathan, Jade, Joshua, how did you feel watching it? How do you think you might have done?
Well, it's hard to tell because, of course, by definition, we haven't revised specials. I mean, I think probably like most of us watching it, you always get on the general questions. You always get the first sort of 6 or 7 because they're relatively easy, and the later ones are harder. And this was no exception. I mean, on the special subjects, I thought that Alexia's one was the one that I was sort of most interested in, really, in the sense that I agree very much with what you were saying earlier. It was an incredibly wide subject, so well done for doing so well on it.
Yeah,
there's a whole debate to be had about whether the comparisons between different special subjects on Mastermind are all as fair as they should be. I mean, a wide subject is much harder to mug up than a subject which basically consists of the only 3 books that somebody has written, for example. But anyway, there we go.
Well, I mean, it is tricky. And when I first went on Mastermind, which was quite some time ago now, the then producer said to me, subjects tend to either be broad but shallow or narrow but deep. I'm not sure if that holds true in the same way now, but certainly when he tried to encourage me to make my subject broader, he was saying, but you won't have to dive so deep into it. But when you've got the sheer volume of competitors that you had in the Olympics for Team GB, and then all of the matches that they might have been playing and all of the opponents, and Alexia.
That was the one thing I was annoyed about. I remembered every single person who was on the podium with our competitors, and not one question came up. And I have all these random names in my head now. Well, they'll be useful in the future.
They'll all, no learning is ever lost. It'll come back to benefit you at some point. Pam's saying, not surprisingly, I did best on Olympics. She loves her athletics. Does Pam?
She always beats me to those questions.
Chris, everyone tonight was excellent. Those specialist subject scores was something else. It's a really good episode to start the series with. Now, see, Molly is back. I don't know if Molly is fully with us, but somebody has asked in the chat what your specialist subjects would have been. Joshua, if you went on Mastermind, I'm assuming you haven't been on, but if you went on Mastermind, what would you go for?
It would probably be Stevie Wonder, The Life and Music of Stevie Wonder, or Beatles albums maybe, or I guess Harry Potter novels as well. I don't know if that must have been done.
That's a banned subject now, isn't it?
I think Harry Potter is a subject that's been done quite a few times, and they try and avoid it, I guess. But but no, that's some interesting options there. Jade, do you have a secret list of subjects?
It's a very difficult question because it's not like only Connect to University Challenge where it's sort of breadth of knowledge. It's very much an in-depth thing, so you can't really pick anything too broad, like a general interest, like artists or a particular composer. But you can't be too niche either, like a video game I played when I was like 12. You know what I mean? It's quite, although that would be quite entertaining. But I really don't know. I'd have to think long and hard about it, but maybe that's why I decided to go on Only Connect instead of Mastermind. It's more.
Well, we'll come on to why on earth you put yourself through that later. But Jonathan, any thoughts from you?
Oh, well, I mean, I actually applied for Mastermind and got on a couple of years ago, but then I couldn't do it because the dates, the filming dates didn't work for me. So I did, in fact, have 2 subjects, which they'd accepted, one of which was the Rolling Stones and one of which was the Hergé's Adventures of Tintin.
Nice.
And I sort of made some progress in swatting up on them, but it was challenging. But then I didn't do it in the end, so you know, we will ever know.
Yeah, we will never know. But that's Tintin. That's a great subject, because I guess in terms of text, there's not a huge amount of dialogue to be picking from. Decent plot points though.
There are an awful lot of characters. Decent plot points. And I think, you know, they could have asked, I think, sort of general questions around it as well. You know, about when somebody says thundering typhoons, you know, like sort of, you know, when things were published or when when they came out in this edition or that edition or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I should say the Rolling Stones one. It was it was pretty challenging because basically it was the entire recorded and performance output of the Rolling Stones sort of ever, really.
That is
which
huge,
is a vast database of stuff which you have to sort of sort up on. And, you know, it's a bit like Alexia's one. I mean, there's a bit endless lists of sort of, in the same way as there's sort of endless lists of competitors who didn't medal, who you nonetheless still have to learn. You probably have to find out about, you know, who played the bass who played the bass as a session musician on track X on album 1 and that sort of thing, you know. So anyway.
And that's the level of detail you have to go into. Molly, you're back with us. I can see your picture's a little bit jerky, but how's your audio? That may be our answer.
By the way, Jonathan's just SMS'd me to say that he's not sure this is going to work. It keeps bouncing him out, he says.
Okay.
Not sure
Let's say, I mean, if you could message him and say about having his kind of picture quality lower, that might be good enough. Molly, I mean, we can see you smiling, Molly, which is great. It'd be maybe if you switch your camera off and we could just have your audio, that would be all right, Molly. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. Whilst you're looking at that, let's just run through last week's QUIZZY Monday winners. Last week's Quizzer of the Week was Sarah Purbrick. Sarah plays in the online quiz league. She's always there to encourage her team and other teams. She's a very positive force in quiz, and for that reason, she was voted your winner. Second was Patrick Friel, who won the Learned League Championship, and third was Ned Pendleton, who had a stonking win in Brain of Britain. Team of the Week was Ethical Mind Collective, who are casting all before them in Division 2 of the Online Quiz League. Second was Manos Castro, the winners of Quiz Nations Portugal. And third was Wins or Not, who won the Quiz League of London Summer Friendly League. You can send in nominations for Quiz or Team of the Week to tinyurl.com/ATQ nominations. Nominations close at 5 p.m. each Monday, UK time. You can nominate any quizzer for any event or any team for any quiz. And so, nominated this week, of course, from Mastermind will be Ben for his win. A tight, real squeaky bum time kind of win, but nonetheless, his single pass. I have to say, when I was noting down everything, I thought Ruth had only passed once. So I put out this kind of, whoa, tie break thing on Twitter, and it's like, oh, or not.
The wait between the end of them recording the show and them actually telling us who had won was so long. We'd all sat there and we knew who the top 2 was, and the wait was so too long.
So when you're in studio, are you aware that they're kind of going through calculations, maybe looking back at footage and
It's just eerily silent, and you don't want to say anything because you don't know if you're being recorded or not. So you're just like just waiting very, very patiently.
you presumably knew that it was you weren't in the frame though, so maybe that just allowed you to relax a little bit more.
I enjoyed the show from then on. It was lovely.
And how was the experience of kind of filming and going over to Belfast and that, you know, in my experience of talking to people on this show, people react in different ways. For some people, seeing the chair, it's terrifying, and you know, and that can get to them. Other people, it's all really exciting, and you just kind of throw into it. How was it for you?
I think firstly, it is about a year ago I started getting into the quizzing world, so I'm very, very new to this. But the amount of people I met straight away in the hotel and things like that, who are on future episodes, was really nice just to meet those people. So in terms of an overall experience, it was just nice to do that. In terms of the actual going into the studio, the walk is really short compared to what I thought it was. I thought you walked for miles to get to that chair, and it's basically in front of you. Which is actually quite scary when the other contestants are right near you too. But yeah, and also when you're talking to Clive, it feels very personal, and just like you're having a chat, which was I felt very relaxed. It was lovely.
Pam's asking, did you get to chat to the other contestants in the green room?
Yeah, we all got shoved into a room to start off with, and it was the working out who did what. Has anyone quizzed before? Has anyone been on the TV before? Finding out the specialist subjects. It was nice just to get to know them. Everyone was so nice. All the contestants were lovely. I
think that's very different from the last couple of series where with COVID people have had to be kept apart. So it's good that the experience is kind of getting back to what it has been in the past. Only Connect folk, did you have the going into the hotel the night before, looking around the bar, trying to look if people were Only Connect type of people thing?
I think we all spotted each other pretty quickly in the hotel, and sometimes you know, I think sometimes we had a drink with people in the bar and stuff before, and we certainly spotted people over breakfast if we hadn't spotted them in the hotel beforehand. But because of the way the filming worked, sort of, I think Daz will correct me if I got this wrong. There were 4 teams filming on any one session, and 2 teams would go early, sort of straight after breakfast, and the other 2 teams wouldn't be required until later on in the morning. So you'd probably see your opponents at breakfast, but the others would probably have eaten up and gone first. But you could fairly. I mean, it's a lot easier in Only Connect than I guess than in spotting fellow Mastermind contestants, because it's random groups of 3.
Spotting single people at breakfast.
Basically, the hotel consists either of single people or families, and random groups of 3
clustered around a tablet playing balls and things like that. Jade, how about you? I saw a smile as I was asking that.
Well, no, this was the funny thing. So I live in Cardiff because I go to Cardiff University. So I didn't stay at the hotel because I'm in I rent. So I just got a taxi instead of from a hotel. It was from my house. So it felt very proper. I felt like I was on The Apprentice and everything. They came outside. I had my little suitcase full of outfits and ooh, it was very exciting. But yeah, Molly and Padraig were in the hotel just as a 2. So
oh, bless. Molly, I don't know if we can hear you. That'll be a no, I think.
I think she did turn her camera off and try and
she should just be in audio only at the moment. So let me just try adding her to the stream again. Molly is audio only, so if you do want to, if you can chip in at any point, then feel free. Joshua, am I right in thinking that some of you were on University Challenge recently?
Yes, that's actually how we met. So Jonathan and I, and another student at Birkbeck, Nikki, the 4 of us, we competed in University Challenge for Birkbeck the year before last. And yes, Nikki ruled herself out for Only Connect, so that left the 3 of us. And yeah, it's been good fun. We haven't fallen out in between the 2 shows, which is great. Basically, the plan is to work our way through BBC 2 schedule So once we get to news night, then we'll stop.
As long as you stop before Crime Watch, that's fine.
Good advice.
It's really nice because we didn't know each other before we sort of, there was as I think in lots of universities, there's a whole sort of competition to get into the thing, and we got through that. Get into university challenge, we got through that. We didn't know each other at all beforehand, and we got on so well that we would meet up afterwards after the whole experience was finished, and then on one or other of our suppers or drinks or something like that, somebody said, should we ever go to another one of these things? And then we took it from there.
Nice. Jade, you're saying about obviously Podrick and Molly being from Ireland, yourself in Wales. How did your team come to be?
So I've been friends with Molly and Podrick for around at least 5-6 years now. So Molly and I went to the same secondary school, and Molly and Podrick have known each other since God knows how long. They grew up in Ireland together. But we sort of came together as our team name would suggest, for our love of cryptic crosswords. So we'd have a newspaper in school, and Molly and myself would attempt the crosswords. So we started with the basic one, and then we went to do the Times Quick, and got Podrick involved as well on video calls, and we've just been doing it ever since. So even after Molly went to uni, I went to uni, we've still had that great friendship and love for quizzing, and I think during the first lockdown, that was when I discovered Only Connect, and I was like, this show is amazing.
What have you been doing with your life up to that point, Jade?
I know but I'm in it now. This is great. I love it. But Molly and Podrick were already fans of the show, and we thought we made a pretty good 3, so yeah.
Awesome.
Thought we might as well have given it a go, and I'm very glad we did.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad both teams did tonight. Very, very entertaining. Before we move on to Only Connect, back to Alexia, a couple of questions. Alexia, what subjects did we miss out on seeing you do because of you falling a point short tonight?
I would be doing Gavin and Stacey.
Oh,
comedy show. Yeah. Which I'm kind of looking back and thinking I'm glad, because I probably would have ruined my relationship with it. But
well, I mean, you never know if that'll still be available next time if you do go for
I've got
it again.
some notes written down somewhere.
And then the other question, I guess, is, has this given you the bug for doing TV? And if so, what are you going to aim for next?
Yeah, definitely. Only Connect is definitely on my horizon. I would like to do all that, definitely. I've got the name in my head. I just need to find the people. So we can talk about that. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I grew up watching quiz shows. I absolutely love it. So now I just want to keep going.
Brilliant. Well, hope you do. You were great tonight. I say, first time on the show, I think, was it 25 points, which I think is more than I got first time I was on the show. And there have been episodes that were won with less than that last series, and quite possibly will be this series. I don't know what happens, but you did brilliantly. I hope you're feeling proud of what you did, because that specialist subject round was just chef's kiss, and general knowledge, just that little rub of the green didn't quite go your way, but fantastic episode tonight. Right, we're going to move on to Only Connect, but just a few short messages before we do.
We've got a couple of interviews on All Things Quiz that you may enjoy. First up, an interview with the new British quizzing champion, Pat Gibson. And then, following that, an interview with the captain of the Open University team, James McGregor, as he speaks frankly about his experience.
Join us for lunchtime quiz time every day between 12 and 2. At 12 o'clock, we release a question, and at 2 o'clock, we give you the answer with some supplementary information. We play lunchtime quiz time on both Twitter and Facebook. We are at Things Quiz on Twitter, and search on Facebook for the All Things Quiz Facebook group. Last week's What is the Question competition was won by this question by Dean Wolfe. Light in colour, Hawaiian goddess of volcanoes, blank. A long thin stick, and Serbian donkey cheese. This sequence is missing a clue to which word. The answer was pile. Well done to Dean, voted for you as your winner. This week's answer in need of a question is machine. We have the first stack of questions now for you to vote on. You can vote at tinyurl.com/WITQ machine. Voting is open till Wednesday, when we'll release your final options and find the winner. Make sure you're following us on Facebook and Twitter so that you can see the word that gets released on Sunday and take part. There we go. That's the obligatory messages about all stuff that's been happening in the last week. So, yes, Only Connect. We have to start with the 5-pointer, I think. The first 5-pointer of the series. That was just an awesome moment. Jade, talk us through it.
I mean, you and me both, because it wasn't me. It was my teammates. I think you could see on my face, because I had only just about processed that first picture, and they had already buzzed. So I was just bewildered. And there is one point I want to go back to the episode. Forgive me for being vain, but it's just me just looking at Molly and Podrick, just like because I'm probably just as flawed as everybody who was watching, because it was so unexpected for me. But it was honestly it was honestly good luck.
And is it Molly who's a medic?
I am the medic.
Oh, you're the medic.
Yes.
Okay. So that first clue, the drooping upper eyelid, that's kind of, well, you know the technical term, but to
that
still
really
go
helped.
for it for 5
Well,
is.
we
Oh
went,
no, sorry, that
we
was
went
no,
for
that
that one
wasn't
for
the 5, was
3.
it? Sorry, it was the Island 3 and 9. Sorry, yes, that was the 5, wasn't it? Yeah. But
Yeah.
yes, so
truly a great moment.
I mean, many people talk of having 5s when they're sat on the sofa, but actually going for it when you're in studio, knowing that if you get it wrong, the other team gets
they get
all of the clues. You know, yeah, no, that was tremendous. I was thinking of the drooping upper eyelid one, which was also a tremendous one, and I guess because the right answer was floated before you went for the second clue, buoyed up by a 5-pointer, was there any thought of going for another 5-pointer?
Oh, I mean, I personally didn't mind that we didn't go for 5 on that one. I wouldn't have felt confident about it, because it could have been like a collection of symptoms, as vague as that might have been for but it wasn't like the picture round where it was quite looking back at it, I suppose, and obviously if you knew the language, it was very like, this is what that is. Whereas I personally quite like that PT question because of the teamwork that we had, because I knew that terminology, and so we were like, okay, we'll keep that in mind. But then we went for the next clue, and then Molly knew what that was, so we got it from there. And like, that to me really is sort of what I hold that moment very, very close to my heart, because it was just a moment of teamwork, and just that moment was really, really good. And also it means I didn't have to turn in my medic card, because sometimes they do have medicine-y questions on Only Connect, and sometimes I've gotten them way later than I should have with the knowledge I have hopefully accrued over my course. So luckily I didn't have to turn in my medic card today.
Tremendous. Well, there's always that risk, isn't there, when something falls on your supposed area of strengths, that you kind of you embarrass yourself. But
there's that irony of having the knowledge of something, but when it's presented in the format of an Only Connect question, you just don't process it as well.
Strigiformes, when you're sat the other side of the studio and you're seeing a team fishing out answers like that, and you ended up at the end of the round 9-3 down.
Yeah.
What does that do to you, kind of, your mindset? What were you thinking as you were playing that round?
Well, I mean, I thought the flag thing was just. I mean, Jade's face actually reflected, I think, what we all felt. It was just, it was such an amazing thing to take it. The other one, I mean, the one which the Tosis Ptarmigan thing, I think we'd actually got it on Ptarmigan, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
But no, it was great. I mean, but as far yeah, you're 9-3 behind. Well, actually, when you're 9-3 behind, in a way, you know you've got another go at this. You know that if you lose psychologically, you know that this is not the end of your thing. If you don't win this, you've got another go. And so, in a way, you'd sort of just relax a bit. I mean, you relax a bit as much as you. So that may help later on. Who knows?
Yeah. Joshua, did the T'other Jonathan, who unfortunately is not with us at the moment, but did, as a captain, was he trying to kind of keep you motivated when the scores were starting to diverge like that?
He was, yeah, and I think you have a couple of minutes in between filming for the wall, and then when one team is doing it, you have a bit of respite, and you can chat and regroup and keep things in perspective. And also, if I'm allowed to say, Victoria gives a very very nice speech at the beginning of the filming, where she tells you that actually, if you like quizzing, then it's very good to lose your first game because it means you get a second shot, and that helped a lot. So I think, it's kind of, at the end, we were looking forward to playing again, I think, and that helped.
Yeah, it is a good luxury having that, knowing that you're going to get an extra game, and actually theoretically that might mean you end up playing more games than the team you've just lost to if you go all the way to the final. And it's not as if you were having a bad round, because you weren't. You picked up the off-screen spouses, and you picked up the telephone connection. Of course, hearts must have collectively dropped when you heard it was a music question right at the start.
Yeah.
But it's not as if you were out of the points entirely. You weren't having a bad round, were you?
No, I mean they had a very good round. That's the way it goes. It's,
we just picked the good hieroglyphs.
I don't think we felt hugely sort of despondent, actually. I'm thinking about what Josh was saying about, because as you say, we had a session in the green room while the Cryptics were doing the wall, and I don't think we felt particularly low or anything. We just it was just the way it went. And I mean, in a way, you could say, maybe this is getting ahead of things, you could say it reversed a bit on the I mean, the luck went with us a bit more in the missing vowels round, because we had a whole if you can say the flag round was particularly to the advantage of people who could speak Gaelic, there was at least one session in the missing vowels round which was particularly to the advantage of people who were more than 10 years old. And most of the institutions in the answers went out of business. So, yeah.
Yes, that was. I was thinking that at the time.
Alexia, it sort of swings and roundabouts, really.
Alexia, when you're watching that first round, what were the questions that were kind of appealing to you?
Well, whenever I see a flag, my eyes light up, because I was one of those weird kids when I was younger and learned every flag and stupidly thought it was the Ivory Coast flag. And I had this amazing connection that I come up with, that 3 and 9 is actually the letters C and I. And that's Côte d'Ivoire. And I was like, oh, this is a great connection. This is brilliant. And then they buzzed in and they were like, it's Ireland. I'm like, I am so annoyed at myself. Also in great awe. So yeah, the flag one, I liked it, but yeah, didn't get it right.
Yeah, that was a very cunning question. I would never have got it on the first clue. Probably not until France, I don't think. Even then, possibly not even then. So no, it was a good get. The crosses one.
Yeah.
No, nobody got that.
Yeah, I quite like that one. I'm from Northampton originally,
so am I.
Embedded in my head.
Exactly, so am I. And Valerie turned to me after that one and said, "We should have got that." It was like, well, yeah, because we go past the Queen Ellen across most weekends. But again, thinking of different types of crosses, so that was a really kind of nice question. Oh, I didn't know you're from Northampton. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I knew there was something good about you. Beyond your appearances, obviously, on Mastermind. So, round 2, here was where my notes started getting a bit sketchy, because I managed to delete the table I usually put my answers in. So I'm not quite as not quite as good on, on my notes here. But were there any particular gets, Joshua, Jonathan, that you were happy about in the sequences round, or indeed thought you missed that you should have got?
You have to remind me what the sequences round was.
So we had the Inns of Court, snooker balls, ABBA, Declare in Bridge, Mrs. White and Cluedo, and the South Africa one, I think.
Well, I think we got the South Africa one, didn't we?
Yeah.
I think that the one with I think we should have got the Bridge Cluedo one. The other one with the ABBA and the snooker balls and so on. I mean, I still think
a badger from a family of five.
That's a bit random, really. It was sort of, if you double these, anyway, I just so in a way I don't know. In a way, it was very simple, but I don't know that we'd ever have got it. So I just but the other two, I think with hindsight we should have got it. But of course, this is the difference between sitting in front of the camera with the clock ticking down and sort of talking about it in hindsight.
Yeah. Joshua, anything from your side, things to add to that?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the ABBA one was really frustrating. Not in the least because I love ABBA, so that was a bit annoying. But yeah, it's all part of the fun. We get second crack to try and redeem ourselves, hopefully.
Indeed. And Jade, I guess, do any of you play Connections Online Quiz League?
Me personally, no.
No.
But I have heard of it.
Yeah, it's just I'm pretty sure that that the Claire Short, Mr. Tall, Ariana Grande one came up in that. So I was watching that thing, and this feels very familiar. If it wasn't those exact pictures, it would have been something very soon. I'm sure there'd be somebody in the chat who might remember if I'm right, but that would have been very fortuitous. Because I think it would have taken me a long time before I'd have got venti at the end.
I did like that question during filming because it called back to the round one question, having the 20 on the Italian flag. I just found that to be a very nice touch. That was good.
Alexia, how did you do on the Japan 3rd, Brazil 13th, UK 3rd question?
3 points. Because as soon as I see those two countries together, it was Japan, Brazil first.
Yeah,
I knew what's coming. It's more working out what the number is, I think. I think it would have been a bit of a risk to go 3 points, but I think the UK 3rd one, that was the famous story. So
I did wonder whether that should have been GB.
Interesting.
Because it always talks about Team G, but actually it is UK in reality, isn't it? Because it's Great Britain and Northern Ireland team, so it probably is right. But yes, it's when you make that connection. Yeah. And it was kind of danced around, I think. On the show.
It was very annoying because I did say, these can't be medals, can it? But it was. And even when I was watching it, I was like, yes, it is. You should have kept going.
I also feel with China as well, going with first as the number is probably quite a good bet anyway, just with all the different lists they top. So, it was a risk. Yeah. I also quite like the Roman one as well, because I now finally know who the third child of Logan Roy is in Succession. I didn't realise it was Roman. I thought he was the youngest.
Oh, it's a Succession thing, is it?
Yeah, it's
okay. Because I was sat there thinking, okay, now I know Logan Roy's third child is Roman. I don't know who Logan Roy is, but
that's like that.
That's good. Now, talking about answers, there was one point where I think it was your team, Jade, gave the first answer as the fourth answer thing. Which one was it? I'm trying to think.
I think it was was it the 5 snooker balls one, or was that
so.
Like Inns in Court? I think we went 2 Inns in Court again.
Yeah,
the classic.
It's the classic. It
is the classic.
It's the equivalent of what we saw tonight on University Challenge. If there's a calculation saying 1 or -1, it's one of those stock answers.
Answer as soon as your name is called. Like, it's going to be a maths one.
But I mean, to be fair, it's worth a try if you've got no idea.
Better than not saying anything at all. And yeah,
Indeed.
I probably wouldn't have known what to say either. So good on Molly for giving it a go.
And if you can't come up with a witty answer, then go for a
To
little.
be fair,
ordinary.
I mean, much to the dismay of our opponents, but Molly saying, "Oh yes, our opponents tonight" as an answer was it was good, but it was a valid answer, but I think it was just an unfortunate question to get past and be like, well.
Yes,
that was quite humorous to watch.
It was funny. So we went on to the Wolves with a 6-point deficit. So the Wolves could have decided it. I'm not sure they did, but Cryptics were up first. Watching it back, is there a kind of a degree of, I don't know, not solving sets that you'd spotted as quickly as you wanted to that kind of held you back a bit?
I mean, it took us way too long to find Qatari. I mean, I think because we had just pegged it as a console too early, and then we just didn't include it in cycles because we didn't consider that as another one of the nationalities. But then again, it's very weird watching it back after it goes through post and everything, but you remember being in that room, seeing it in that exact order on the screen, and oh dear, the memories. It's the longest 2.5 minutes watching it, but when you're there solving it, it goes so quickly.
The other one that was mentioned was his Dark Materials, which, and you tried a few things, and then you went on to just more general kind of mythological things, and again managed to pick it up after the war was resolved. But again, that was another one where you were flirting with it, but not quite managing to solve it as a team. But I thought there were two tough walls tonight. I don't know what the Strigiformes think. This would have been the first time you saw that wall.
I thought it was a very tough wall.
Yeah.
I thought it was a very tough wall. I thought they were both pretty. I mean, as you can see, we didn't do very well on our wall, but I thought they were both pretty tough walls for a first game, if you see what I mean. Before you've got your head properly into the space of just as Jay says, just the sheer business of standing there with the clock running down, and again, that is really different from watching it on TV.
Because you watch yourself and you're almost goading yourself on, like, oh, come on, even though you know the outcome already, having filmed it 6 months ago. Just come on.
I know.
I mean, with the Strigiformes, it was the Sean's you were kind of cycling around for a long time trying to complete that set, and you saw them, and you got the coins one quite nicely out of the way. Yeah, but that didn't really help you with the Sean's or any of those other sets.
We should have, I mean, I think it's, the Sean's one, we should basically have just done every single name on the board. I mean, the one which we didn't get was, I think, Sean Khan, looking at the thing this evening. Apologies to Sean Khan, but I still don't know who he is. I could probably look him up. No, seriously, I could probably look him up now, but it didn't resonate with me at all when that name came up.
I think Khan was in the Doctor Who Companions group. Yeah.
Well, that's the other problem is that probably unusually amongst only connectors, none of us are Whovians, so we were completely lost on that. I mean,
whereas
at least since the days of Tom Baker, none of us have watched Doctor Who. Whereas I think as Jade, because obviously we're in touch, Jade, I think the Cryptics would have liked. I think that's quite
Molly is a big Whovian, so I think I remember that day of filming when sort of whispers of how did the wall go, all of this, and like we heard that Doctor Who Companions run it, and then Molly and Podrick were just like, come on, it's a coin flip, come on, we just put there on one.
Gutting.
It
But
happens. But this is the thing. It's like the hieroglyphs in round 1, the walls. What vowels
Yeah.
get chosen at the end. It's all part of the game. It's all luck of the draw, really.
Alexia, how did you view the walls?
The wall is not my friend. That is one I would have to definitely do a lot of. I quite like the ones where you get to the letter ahead of it or the letter beside it, because I can sit there and look at 16 words and try to make new words and try to come up with a connection. But yeah, that's the one I'd have to go and do a lot of practice with if I ever wanted to do well on that show.
Yeah, there are lots of different kind of types of sets that you can have on the wall, and spotting them, that's the trick.
I think the celebrity ones are always the hardest. Like for me, I have obviously quite a good sports knowledge, but when it comes to something like cinema, I really struggle. So I would struggle picking out some Sean's there completely.
Yeah. So at the end of that round, it was 7 points. So it only made 1 point difference. But I guess for the Strigiformes, well, you didn't know how the other team had done until you got into studio.
No.
But had you discussed how you were going to approach the missing vowels?
I don't think we had really. I
No,
think we kind of
go for it.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
I mean, by that point, there's I mean, you're that far behind. There's no point in not going for it, is there? There's no point in trying to save your points.
Yeah, and when the first set is former building societies, which, as you said earlier, kind of it did play into your hands, and you maximise that. So you've gone from being 7 behind to 3 behind with two more sets to go. At that point, inside you must be thinking, actually, we can do this.
We were cursing that 5-pointer by the end, I can assure you.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's stuff like that, that can make the difference in a relatively tight match. Bears and Voices, I liked. That was
the Bears.
And Paddington was going to come up, obviously.
To an iconic moment of that face from Jade.
The Bears.
And invented by dentists.
Oh yeah.
I mean, wooden golf tee. Who knew?
Oh come on, that wasn't right.
But it was a great match. 18-16. It was tight. As you say, but for a 5-pointer, that 5-pointer, you take another clue and get it for 3, and that's a tied game. And then you've got 2 absolutely terrified captains having to play off a tiebreak. So it was a good game, really enjoyable to watch. And thinking when that comeback looked on again, you thought, oh, this, after Mastermind, this could be yet another tight match tonight. And Gerard is saying there's a lot of excitement getting Paddington, wasn't there? I think all over Twitter as well. Sure, Patrick feared for his life after the Bears. So yes, brilliant. We get to see you both again, which is awesome. There is one question that needs to be asked. This has come from Catherine. May I ask the Strigiformes what their favourite Strigiformes are?
Joshua, you're the person who gave us this name.
Yeah, sorry, I've dropped us into it. I should have had prepared an answer for this. It's a great question. I think I love the Snowy Owl, obviously, being a Harry Potter fan. And someone said in the chat about the horned owl or horned owl, depending on your preference for pronunciation of hieroglyphics. I think that's a great answer. They're the ones with the eyebrows, aren't they? They're also amazing owls. Yeah, good choice. Thanks, Paul.
Jamie has suggested owl from Winnie the Pooh. So yes, we can go fictional owls as well. That's brilliant. So we are going to very quickly just look at the nominees for Quizzer and Team of the Week this week. I will just note, and hopefully I've uploaded the right thing, that because of avoiding spoilers, I haven't named winners from tonight in the video. Here are this week's Quizzer of the Week nominations. Fred Bush for 7 out of 8 in the OQL USA Cup. Patrick Carthy, who won the Irish Quiz Championship and got the highest scoring OQL Full House of the week. Alan Gibbs, who won Quiz in the North. Tonight's Mastermind winner. Michael McPartland, who got 14 out of 15 in Pop Culture Challenge. Subrat, who got 12 out of 15 in Asian Quiz League. And Tim Polly, who got 7 out of 8 in the OQL USA Cup. And now the nominations for Team of the Week. Chris Quinn and Neil Wright, who won Merseyside Quiz League's Jubilee Pairs Championship. Eddie's Inquisitive Fish, who were Quiz Nation's Asia Pacific's top scorers. Gabe and the Holograms, who in the OQL USA Cup had a 31-point swing to win coming from behind. Munster, who won the Irish Interprovincial Championship. Tonight's Only Connect winners. Team 4, the Quiz in the North winners. Tonight's University Challenge winners. And the Wigton Wanderers, who beat OQL Division 3's leaders. Voting is now open at tinyurl.com/QW19SEP. Voting is open until Friday at 6 p.m. UK time. Okay, there we go. And so, finally, University Challenge. Now, only connectors, you can be forgiven if your texts and emails and whatever were aflame during University Challenge and you didn't pay a huge amount of attention. I don't know, Alexia, did you get a chance to watch it?
Yes, I did. I was very much the same. I think there's a bit of an adrenaline buzz when you watch yourself on TV and then the messages that come in. So I have watched it. Really great to see Coventry make their first ever debut. That's really lovely to see. But
Yeah.
Well, what performance by Cardiff. We've got some strong teams this year.
We have Cardiff were, I mean, all 4 of the players got buzzes, which was really good to see. You always like to see a good all-round team performance, and they never really, I mean, early on they traded blows, first 4 starters. Thereafter, Cardiff really just ran away with it. I mean, Joshua, you know, what did you make of it? You know, being a bit more in the know of tonight's show, how good are Cardiff?
I'm going to have to rule myself out of this because I don't watch University Challenge. I have low-grade PTSD from
Right.
doing it the first time round when I hear the theme music, so I don't watch it. But I'm sure they did brilliantly.
I think they're obviously they won by something like, was it 250 to 50 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I mean they performed. I thought they performed very well. I mean they must be, they must be they must be a sort of not a favourite, because then you have a favourite at this stage in the thing, but they must be a strong runner for the later stages, I would have thought. But of course, you should ask the student of the University of Cardiff who is on our call.
Yeah,
Indeed.
I thought they were amazing. I mean, I must be frank. I did have to keep an eye on all my incoming messages and congratulations from friends and family, but you look away and then you look back and suddenly they've got a 100-point lead. It was quite spectacular. Even if I wasn't paying attention to all of the questions, there seems to be some good knowledge there. And as a member of Cardiff University myself, I felt very represented. Yes. Cardiff showed up good tonight.
They really did, on multiple shows. I mean, South Korea, Bulkwell Wheaton or Weston he was on fire. He was the MVP tonight. He was a really good player, got some good buzzes. Alexa, any of the bonuses? Because I think one of the things we've seen this series and a couple of series is the diversification of the question matter and the bonuses. Is there anything that you particularly like tonight?
Not in terms of particularly like, but just knowing it will appeal to a certain type of people, like the Legend of Zelda bonus questions. I know some people, that is my goal in life, to learn about gaming without gaming. So yeah, really impressed if they can get any of those. I just thought it was quite a tough game as well, quite scientific, I'd say. When I could listen in and dip in and dipping out, which I found quite tough today, actually.
Sports at the Tokyo Olympics, though.
Can you believe it? They planned that one, didn't they? I knew that was. I thought it was a really tough one as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not an artistic swimming expert at all. We had 2 people in Tokyo 2020 Olympics, so not much to know about them. But yeah, I thought it was really tough, that one.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was just a dominant performance by Cardiff, an all-round good team performance. It's hard to know how good Coventry were. We just didn't see enough of them. And that's the problem with the University Challenge, that you can know the same as your opponents, but if your opponents are just that fraction quicker, that's where the points go. So unfortunate Coventry. It's good to see a team make their debut, but unfortunately they weren't able to kind of push at least for a high scoring loser. But well done to Cardiff. That's the best score I think of the series so far. So well done to them. So we're at the point in the show now where I go around the panel and ask you what your champagne moment of the night was. And it can be anything. It can be something you did, something somebody else did. It can be a witticism or an aside. It can be a well-constructed question. It can be absolutely anything. Alexia, I'll start with you.
I've got two, one from Mastermind, one from OC. Mastermind was my dressing room was next door to Ben's, and I knew he was doing Peaky Blinders. And then we got called down to go and do some practice walkthroughs, and he was dressed, all kitted, suited up, full outfit. And I just went, yes, this is it. I love this. I should have brought a Team GB tracksuit. We should have all been dressed up. I don't know how you dress up as Goya, but maybe you can. And it was just so lovely, and it was nice to see someone go for it. I loved it. But in terms of OC, my favourite moment was in the moment of winning, the look that Jade gave when she got the panda question correct. But was it your other teammate said the answer as well?
So what ended up happening was the correct answer that I said was Poe and Jack Black, but unfortunately at the same time when it had been passed over, Podrick had incorrectly answered Pooh, so it didn't count, but I didn't hear him say his wrong answer, so I was like, what? I was very confused, but it didn't count, but oh well.
You guys did count though. Oh, scenes.
Excellent. No, good nominations. Jonathan.
I think my personal favourite moment was making a rough approximation of the pronunciation of the word "koza," which I think is still way away from perfect because it's too high up in the throat. But actually, my real champagne moment was the Cryptics getting the 5 score, and in particular Jade's face when they got the 5 score. It was just fantastic because it reflected what we all thought. It was just the camera was on you.
Thank
nice. Joshua, how about you?
Totally agree. It has to be that 5 points, for even though it didn't go our way. It was just such an amazing moment. And I feel like Victoria was on top form as well. Her asides. I loved her idea for a spin-off show of Only Connect. And that seems to be quite popular. Oh yeah, there you go. Only Connectra, that was it. Yeah.
I wonder where they got this idea from. I don't know.
Stealing your thunder.
Well, that's it. I'll be having a word with Jack Whaley Cohen next time I see him. But no, yeah, very good. Jade.
I appear to have been quite popular in terms of top moments. I feel like it would be a bit self-centered to say something that I did. So to be fair, though, the 5-pointer wasn't actually me. It was Molly and Podrick, and I'm incredibly impressed. And 5-point club. That was quite special. But I think I mentioned before, like the other demonstrations of teamwork that we had in that episode, and seeing the knowledge from our opponents as well, and seeing their wall, and the one bit of the show that I didn't actually see when recording. So I was like, oh yes, I can focus on this and not worry about anything. But genuinely, it's going on the show and just seeing it back. This whole evening has been a champagne moment because, not 3 hours ago, I was like, oh, I'm going to be on TV. So it's very exciting. So it's been a great evening.
Yeah, I mean, it has. And I think for me, it probably has to be that 5-pointer. But I did, there were some things I liked. I just like the look on Alexia's face with the backflip 360, because I think quizzers recognize that when something you've prepared for and, it comes up and it rewards you, and it's not necessarily the most obvious thing. I think that was really nice as well. I think that's the sort of thing that you know, if you've been there, you know. And I think that was a good one as well. But yeah, it was a great night. We've got a few bits and bobs in the chat, but I think we're going to have to wrap up there. So just want to say thank you to Alexia, Jonathan, Jade, Joshua. Sorry that somehow Molly and t'other Jonathan didn't manage to kind of speak to us. We kind of saw them, but we didn't get to hear from them. Hopefully we'll get to hear from them in the future. But thank you so much, everybody who's been chatting away. Don't forget to vote for What is the Question? And don't forget to vote for Quizzer and Team of the Week. We will put both links to both of those in the description once we finish the show. And don't forget, we've got Lunchtime Quiz Time every day on Twitter and Facebook between 12 and 2. So we'll say goodnight. And thank you to all of the guests again. And we'll just leave you with this. Good night, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Good night.
Bye.
Join us for Lunchtime Quiz Time every day between 12 and 2. At 12 o'clock, we release a question, and at 2 o'clock, we give you the answer with some supplementary information. We play Lunchtime Quiz Time on both Twitter and Facebook.